All right, hi everyone. Welcome to this special post-game live edition. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV, Sal Maiorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, who is at Bank of America Stadium down there in Charlotte, as you can see, in the wake of an extraordinarily convincing 40-9 win for the Bills over the Carolina Panthers, coming off of the bye week. Sean McDermott now 9-0, coming off of the bye. So, Sal, there was a lot of concern about this team with two straight losses, and for a number of reasons, kind of just what the doctor ordered result for this football team after that two-game skid, putting an end to it.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, Adam. It was a get-right game for the Bills. You lose two in a row. The Patriots winning again today. I'm not sure I don't know if they're ever going to lose again with that schedule they're playing. So the Bills have had to find a way to keep pace here, especially with the Chiefs coming into town next week, or definitely rejuvenated Chiefs team. So, yeah, this was, you're not going to say it's a must win in game number 7 of the season, but it was certainly one that they could not afford to piss away, and they didn't. They played pretty well. James Cook was astoundingly great. The rest of the offense was pretty mundane and pretty much ugly, quite frankly. And then the defense did what the defense has done in the past, created turnovers that kind of, changed the tenor of the game. So as McDermott said, good all-around team win. You win 40-9. You did a lot of things well. But again, Adam, I walk away from this game. I can't get this passing game out of my head. It's disgusting to watch this team try to throw the ball. And I can't believe we're sitting here talking about a Josh Allen passing game that is just functional, but there it is. So James Cook, great job, but he's going to need some help moving forward.
All right, we're going to get into that as we move forward here. But let's get, FanDuel had the over-under for James Cook for the rushing total at 72.5 yards. Well, I'd say he more than eclipsed that with a career high 19 carries, 216 yards, couple of touchdowns with that long of 64, 245 on the day for the Bills run game. And how many times have we said it, that for this offense to be at its best, and I'm not saying that it was by any stretch of the imagination today, despite the 40 points, but the running game is so critical. And there was this rousing call for James Cook. And even with just 19 carries, you look at the output today against, a defense, a top 10 defense. That aspect of the game was extraordinarily impressive, and that had a lot to do with the offensive line and obviously Cook himself.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great running game plan for the Bills. And, and Sean McDermott did credit Aaron Kromer, the offensive line coach, who has a big say in how they put the run game together. Brady's calling the plays, but Kromer has a lot of say in what the offensive line is doing and how it all comes together in the run game and the types of runs that they want to use. And today, very clearly, they found a weakness on the edge for the Panthers defense. There were a lot of pitch plays, off-tackle pitch plays for Cook, and they were working because the Bills' offensive line, good athletic group, as we know, and they can get out in space and they can create gaps. And then Cook is such a good runner with that one cut that he makes. It's usually he cuts and he's through very quickly, and then it's a matter of how much further can he go. Today he had a couple big ones, obviously, 2 long touchdown runs, but that was where it was up front. And he said it. Cook admitted, I'm nowhere without my offensive line. That was true. They had a great day. I talked to Osiris Torrance, and he thought it was probably their best day of the season. Like you said, against a decent enough Panthers run defense. Last year was one of the worst in history, but they've made some improvements this year, and the Bills just exposed them completely. It was a great run game for the Bills.
All right, so Gabriel Lamb with a comment here as we're live here on YouTube. We invite your questions and comments as we continue for about the next 20 minutes or so here. They need to make a trade for a receiver. It's not the first time we've heard that. And you look at the passing game, and now let's delve into that a little bit more once again. It's an ongoing discussion, right? 185 yards total. Shakir, 6 for 88. Coleman, 3 for 30. But, they're obviously going to need to be more productive through the air. And with what they have at the receiving position, the combination of talent, all those things. I know I sound like a broken record, but to whatever extent you can coming out of this game, if you want to add any more perspective, Sal, to it, diagnose this thing, because they just don't have the range of talent. They certainly have it at the quarterback position. Josh Allen, who became an all-time leader today, 46 career games with a passing and rushing TD. That surpasses Cam Newton. And whatever's going on with his game and how he's kind of tried to right the ship, that's one discussion. But there's the composition of this receiving core that I don't think is good enough to get the job done this year.
No, it's not. I mean, there was no play that summarized that better than that play in the first half where Allen kept it alive for 11 seconds. I think it was like the second longest time to throw in the NFL this season. He's running around all over the place, and he was looking downfield while he was scrambling behind the line, and there was nowhere to throw the ball, which 11 seconds. Are you telling me nobody could get open for 11 seconds? And he ended up eating the ball for a 16-yard sack. That's happening, not so much the sacks, but he's dropping back to pass, and he has nowhere to go with it. The only thing that works for this Buffalo passing game right now is when he throws those quick little passes down the line of scrimmage, and he has to hope that the other receiver will get a block, say it's Shakir. The other guy can get a block, and Shakir can make a guy miss and get some yardage. And one of those plays went for 54 yards and a touchdown. But you can't keep living on that. I mean, you just can't. You've got to have guys winning downfield, and the Bills don't have these players. Keon Coleman, again, just another nothing burger of a day. 3 catches. I think he had 30 yards, and I think one of those might have been from Trubisky in garbage time, if I'm not mistaken. Dalton Kincaid, he's back in the lineup today. 1 catch. He had a drop, and they had 1 catch for 23 yards. Like, what? I don't know. Somebody asked me on Twitter, they didn't have a number 1 receiver last year. Why were they so good? The bottom line here is, Adam, defenses know what the Bills are going to do with their passing game. It's basically the same crew that they're running the back with, and they just know the Bills' weaknesses and how to defend them, and that's why the passing game is getting nowhere in 2025. I don't know how you fix it. Yeah, Gabriel wants them to trade for a receiver. Who? I mean, who's going to come in here that's going to make such a big difference in their passing game? I don't really know. And you and I have talked about it ad nauseum. The cap space is really restrictive in what they can do. So this is kind of the team. This is the team that they've got. And Joe Brady has got to start figuring out ways to get guys open.
They've made their bed. Now they're going to kind of lie in it, right?
Exactly.
Or change the sheets or do something, right? But you only got so much to work with. It's so
frustrating to watch Keon Coleman. He just doesn't win ever, Adam. For a guy of his physical ability to not be able to win on a consistent basis or even a once in a while basis is just maddening. And man, you look at how they could have changed this last year in the draft if they hadn't kept trading down and right out of the first round, what they could have done to maybe get a better player, and they don't have that player. So right now it's Khalil Shakir, and you hope that he can make a big play.
Right. 6 receptions, 88 yards. And look, he's an outstanding football player. The whole yards after the catch thing is real. And as a component of what you try to do offensively in the National Football League, it can be, it can be lethal, right? But there needs to be more than that. And we're having this discussion after a 40-9 win, obviously, where the opponent did so much to self-destruct. I mean, I want to give the Bills all the credit they deserve, particularly on defense. We can talk about that as well now. I mean, this is a top 3 rushing attack in the NFL, right? And right from the first series, I mean, they limited it to what? I think 114 yards on the day in terms of Carolina's run game. 7 sacks, 3 takeaways. Against Andy Dalton, who was a disaster in there today. We had thought that with his experience and everything, he was a guy that they could maybe turn to, especially where the run was so much a part of what they do and have done successfully, especially in recent games, right? They got both those guys back. But, I mean, Dalton really, as he said after the game, didn't give his team a chance to win in this one.
No, he didn't. And it was strange, too, because I thought, Bryce Young's been barely a mediocrity for the Panthers. He's been no great shakes. And I thought with this running game that Carolina has, Andy Dalton going in as a savvy 15-year veteran, you give him a good running game, he could work a little play action. He'll know where to go with the ball when he drops back to pass. And what we didn't count on today, Adam, was their offensive line just getting killed by the Bills pass rush. I mean, that was surprising. I didn't think the Bills would be able to do that, even with Dalton, who's not mobile anymore. I just thought they were going to run the ball, play action, keep the Bills pass rush at bay. And, Ted McMillan's a really nice player on the outside for them. None of that materialized. It was really, the game did not follow the script that I thought it was going to follow in any way. And credit to the Bills. I mean, there was no doubt. They had a great rush plan in this game. Rousseau had a nice game with a couple big plays. Hoyt, getting Michael Hoyt back was important. Yeah. You can see what that guy can do. They lined him up on the edge. They lined him up inside sometimes when they wanted to keep Bosa and Rousseau on the edge for, obvious passing situations. The guy can drop into coverage if the Bills want him to. So that's a really nice piece to get back. And what do you have? I think he had 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble.
1.5.
Yeah, yep. 1.5 and a forced fumble. I mean, that's not bad for your first game. Your first real game since last January when he played for the Rams.
Yeah, I felt like he was going to be an impact player. And there's this, he's just on the same page with McDermott. You could get that sense with just his kind of player, and it's going to be a good fit in the defense, and that certainly came to fruition in this one today. Bosa, I thought, made a very legitimate impact in this game as well. Didn't you?
Yeah, Bosa was good. They were all good. Rousseau was very good. That's what we've wanted to see from the Bills pass rush for so long. Greg Rousseau has been underwhelming. We've talked about this time and time again. As a first-round draft pick, he really has not, as far as I'm concerned, played to that level and been a difference maker. And we said when he signed his new contract, now's the time, man. You got to step up and you're being paid like a legitimate star edge rusher. So let's see it. We hadn't really seen it for the first 6 games. He was much better today. Bosa was better, like you said. It also helped that they were ahead in the whole game. I mean, they got ahead big. Yeah. And that allowed them to kind of pin their ears back and go after Dalton, who's not mobile. So let's see next week, Adam. Let's see the pass rush succeed next week against that quarterback. Then maybe I'll start thinking they've got something. It was a nice day. Not going to crap on it at all. But there's still a long way to go for this defense.
I mean, do you want to talk about next week now? I don't know, unless someone brings something up. And we've kind of covered a lot here.
We could talk more about the game today. One thing I thought was really nice too. They got Max Hairston on the field. I wasn't quite sure.
That's right.
I wasn't quite sure where that was going to go. I was surprised that they ended his practice window and activated him to the roster. I thought they were going to give him. Some of us were thinking Miami. Like, give him these 2 weeks because you sure didn't want to make him have to debut against the Chiefs in that offense. I think the thinking was, you know what? We are not very good right now. We need him. Let's get him into this Carolina game because they don't have much in the receiving core. They have Ted McMillan, and they don't have much else beyond that. So I think it was almost like, let's get his feet wet this week, and then he can play next week when we're really going to need him. Not that he's going to start next week. I'm sure he's not. But with Xavier Worthy, one of the fastest players in the league, Rashee Rice, who is, going to be playing his second game off his suspension Monday night, they're going to need a guy like Max Harrison. So that was good to see him get back out there. And then the other interesting thing was the Jordan Hancock usage. Taylor Rapp's out. So Jordan Poyer was called up from the practice squad, gets the start. But this was a clear indication, Adam, that they realized Jordan Poyer is not nearly the player that he once was. I mean, he just isn't. He's not the same athlete. And by playing Jordan Hancock on passing downs as the safety next to Cole Bishop, that was a clear sign that they realize he can't cover in the pass. So they need a faster player back there. Even with Hancock's inexperience, they need somebody who can hold up. And, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch to see exactly how he did. I know he had 3 tackles and he had a touchdown saving tackle on Dowdle. Now, that's a play that maybe Poyer doesn't make, man, right? He might have scored on that play if Poyer's back there. And that's a whole different, maybe it's a different game. That would have been 7-3 Carolina. at that point in the first quarter. So I thought that was really interesting that Hancock got that playing time. Good to see too.
Yeah, that's good insight. And I did, in basing it on whatever McDermott is saying publicly, it's a matter of getting these guys snaps at this point, which speaks partially to your point. It doesn't emphasize what they don't have. It kind of emphasizes what they do and their need to bring it along. But that illustrates kind of where
it's good that they're recognizing it, though, Adam. Right? This team, this coaching staff sometimes has been late to do that. They stick with their guys. They love their guys. And what we saw this week by getting Hairston and Hancock on the field is they are recognizing that they've got some problems, and they can't just keep rolling out Trey White and Jordan Poyer. So that's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we talked about what they could do potentially at the trade deadline or couldn't do with regard to the receiver position. I have both said corner or someone in the secondary if they are going to make an addition. I mean, that might be a more realistic place to go and maybe get something done, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. We've been saying corner for a while. Maybe now that they've got Max Hairston on the field, they feel a little better. I mean, they're still pretty thin. I mean, they've got the three.
Right.
If Trey White's your starter, then Hairston and obviously Benford, you're still pretty thin with Jamarcus Ingram back there and, Cam Lewis in a pinch. Brandon Codrington's unplayable. He was a healthy scratch today. So maybe they add a corner. There was some talk about safety. Maybe this Jordan Hancock move allows them to put that off and not go after a safety. I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, we keep saying this, though. I don't know what you're going to do as far as bringing a difference-making guy in. I mean, it would be almost – it seems like no matter what they do, it's just going to be a move to make a move. I just don't know what the impact will be. I still say wide receiver is the bigger need, though. They've got to change in some way this wide receiver group. I mean, Rashid Shaheed's name keeps coming up. The Saints, are apparently considering – trading him. I don't know if it's going to cost what they're saying. Maybe a 3rd round pick is what they would take. That seems kind of hefty for Rashid Shaheed, but at least that guy would bring a speed element to the offense. You would think so, but outside of that, I don't know what they can do. It's a real quandary for Brandon B with the money situation.
Well, it's not like you just need to add, a player or increase your numbers, or you need to add a dynamic. Right.
Yeah.
So that narrows the focus of what you really want, and teams obviously know that, and they're going to make you pay for it. So,
I mean, you look at last year, Adam. They brought in when they brought in Amari Cooper last year. When that happened, I mean, a lot of us, me included, thought that was about as good as Bean could have done, and we had some high expectations because Amari Cooper at that time looked like he still had some juice left. Turned out he didn't. And then after the season, nobody even bothered signing him. So he was clearly done. But, you look at that move, that looked like a good move. Can they even match that move this year? I don't know. I don't know that they could even match that move.
Well, they're going to need to do something or make far better use of what they have. Because you look at the conference standings, and they kept pace today. This is a keep pace win, right? And a good bounce back coming off of the bye. Patriots beat the Browns, right? As we speak, Broncos are up on the Cowboys 30-17. We'll see what Pittsburgh does with the Packers. But they've got a lot of company in the neighborhood they're in. And it's going to be a very interesting race through the long portion of the season that remains here. And I do feel like, and again, it kind of leaves you shaking your head, doesn't it? We're talking about the MVP, reigning MVP at quarterback, and all that Josh Allen brings to the table. And there just isn't the array of weapons on this offense that they need to maximize that talent in a Super Bowl window. Yeah. And you digest that point, and that's bothersome, man. Right?
We're going to look back on this. If they fail again to get to the Super Bowl, hell, if they don't win the division, which is right now, that's going to be tough to do, I think, the way the Patriots are playing. We're going to look back on this offseason as a complete failure because they did not improve their wide receiver room. They signed Joshua Palmer. Look, he's hurt right now, but it hasn't been a very productive – he got hurt early last week, so we'll call it 5.5 games. He was not a difference maker at all. I don't think he's going to be moving forward. So what have you got here? We're going to look back, and that's going to be what we're going to say, is that he did not help this passing game in a Josh Allen MVP, reigning MVP season, get things done, because that's where they needed a wide receiver and they didn't do it. So, yeah, he's going to have to live with that.
All right.
I mean, they've tried all they can on defense. They spent their first 5 picks in the draft on defense. They signed guys in free agency. I mean, he went balls to the wall to try to improve a defense, and he needed to, because their defense stunk last year. And that was the biggest reason why they didn't get to the Super Bowl, right? They gave up 32 to the Chiefs in that game, which the Chiefs had 30 points 3 times all year. That was their highest scoring game. So the defense had to be addressed. But, man, he kind of ignored the offense, thinking that they could just run it back with the guys they have. And as I said at the top of the show, guys aren't getting open because defenses know what the Bills are going to do. They know the players they have, they know their limitations, and they know how to defend them. And that's what's happening right now.
Well, being doubled down on it publicly too, right? Defending on the production of that offense. And so you're right. And here they are at this point. And I suppose you and I are on brand after a 40-9 win having this discussion. But the stat sheet,
I mean,
more than
it was
said.
it was a nice win, but this team's still got warts. The warts haven't gone away.
Right. And it very much remains to be seen if they will. With the Kansas City Chiefs coming to Orchard Park next weekend for a highly anticipated matchup. The Chiefs playing on Monday night against the Commanders, so a relatively short week for them. But they've got a little bit of experience with that. I'm not sure that's going to be much of a factor. In any case, it's 40-9. The Bills emphatically over the Carolina Panthers today as they improve to 5-2 and now look to the most anticipated game to this point of the regular season next weekend at home against KC. So for Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Monday night, 7 o'clock, WGRZ TV in Buffalo. Thank you for being with us here on this live post-game edition, Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.